Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. And everyone, hey, thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben. Carissa should be joining us here in just a moment. And everyone, hey, how you doing? I hope that you had a great weekend and you are ready for, well, a shorter week, I'm sure, for many of you. Obviously, the Christmas Eve will be on Thursday, and, well, Christmas Day will, of course, be on Friday. So, first off, obviously, Merry Christmas to everyone. Second off, Computer America will be off starting December 24th. So this Thursday, we will not have a program. And then Computer America will not be back on the air until all the way over to January 4th. So that's like a week and a half of no new shows. We'll have Best of Computer America running. Everything will be fine. It'll be good. And then we'll be back starting strong with CES. And of course, this will be a very different kind of CES. Everything will be all digital and everything will be a little bit different. But don't worry about it. It will be a lot of fun. So we look forward to seeing you here in the next year, but we also look forward to, a shorter week of shows this week where we're going to have some of our favorite correspondents, and you know what? It's going to be a fun set of shows. So everyone, welcome into today's program. We have a full hour of computer and technology news, and so if you want to find out more, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, past shows, future shows, all the shows. You can, of course, find that there at computeramerica.com. While you're there, be sure to check out the articles, check out the show notes, check out the podcast, check out reviews, and, of course, links to social media. Social media is a great way to keep up with what we do when we publish new podcasts, when we publish new articles and reviews. And, hey, you can always reach out to us, and we can, of course, get to interact with you out there as well. So, okay, I think that is about everything that needed to be said, and why don't we go ahead and get started with computer and technology news. A lot of different topics, and we're going to have fun with it. So here we go. Computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. Here we go. And everyone, I just want to apologize once again because Carissa is currently in the process of restarting her system. So, she'll be with us here momentarily. But I think that for our first story, we're going to go ahead and start with, how about some big news? And some big news, but at the same time, a little not surprising as well when it comes to technology, but technology that's been around for a little while. And this has to do with cameras. I'm sure that a lot of you have, know of DSLR cameras, and this is a very, very short story that actually, in the first time that I've seen in a press release, actually mentioned that it's yeah, it actually mentions a sad face, but Nikon, and you can see it there up on the screen. Nikon, for the first time in 70 years, is going to stop camera production in the let's see. So Nikon is going to end camera production in Japan for the first time in 70 years. So let's find out what this really means. But they say that the Japanese website Asahi, and I apologize if I messed that up, but reports that Nikon is ending the production of cameras in Japan and moving all production to Thailand. So Nikon, the company, is not, Thailand, the company. Nikon, the company, is not ending its DSLR mirrorless cameras, but rather they are going to move production to a new country, that country, of course, being Thailand. This is simply Nikon's attempt to cut costs as much as possible. Don't think this is enough to make them stay in business. Troubling times for Nikon ahead. So there you go. I think that a lot of people are very familiar with DSLR and, kind of no mirror cameras. What you see is what you get. Everything is, I think that a lot of people like to shoot on film, and not even the film cameras, but simply the digital camera. I mean, it's almost ironic in a way that everyone has access to a camera, but to actually get a truly good picture, a lot of people favor point and shoot DSLR cameras that are just made to take great photos. So there's a lot of horrible photos out there in the world, but there's not many companies out there that are making the equipment to take truly great photos. And so they're not entirely going to be leaving, but you know what? It's a step to try to cut costs, as they said, and save the business altogether. So I really hope they do. Nikon is one of those iconic companies, especially when it comes to digital cameras. And so with that said, very, very short story right there, but we're going to do something here real quick. So Carissa, not everyone can hear you, but I'm going to ask you to unmute and see if your mic works. For me, at least. Does it work? It does. So let's go ahead and take it off mute. And yeah, there we go. So everyone, Carissa, of course, co-host. And
Hello.
You sound great. Perfect. Yeah, no, it's
great.
Perfect. You sound great. Okay. And happy to have you back on. And let's go ahead and keep the news moving, because that's what we're doing, Carissa. Just cover this one about Nikon ending 70 years of camera production in Japan, but they're moving all operations to Thailand. Like, that was the gist of the story. So.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, well, they're obviously, in a pandemic, people aren't traveling, people aren't buying cameras, and, they're cutting expenses where they can. And for a company that's already struggling, cut costs where you can. It's really, really hard. So tough decisions all around, but, I'm sure that they're going to do the best that they can. So
I'm sure that'll save them, money on production cost and stuff too.
As much as possible. So there you go. And let's see. So we're going to go ahead and put all those stories there for you, Carissa. And okay, everyone, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And we'll go ahead and do, let's see, looking at all these different stories here. How about we talk about some Disney? And we have a couple stories here that could actually, we can kind of lump together when it comes to movies. And I wanted to cover, let's see, it was this one from Gadgets 360. So a bit of a different publication, but yeah, Wonder Woman 1984. I remember back when COVID first hit, the PR, the marketing material was already out there. There were already Doritos bags with her face on it. There were already soda pop with, kind of the logo on it. There was already billboards and TV commercials and adverts. I mean, this thing was really ready to release. And then, of course, COVID hit, all the movie theaters closed, and they've been holding off. Should have been, a huge blockbuster, but Wonder Woman 1984 brings in about $40 million at the box office opening weekend, which, Carissa, if I'm being honest, that's a lot. Like, I was not expecting 40 million.
Wow. Like which movie theaters? Like, does it say which?
Right? Which ones are even
who's
open?
going to the freaking movie theater?
Right? So Wonder Woman 1984 got off to a slow start, grossing, and by the way, this was global box office.
Okay.
Yeah, global box office 38.5 on its opening weekend that saw its opening weekend that saw the DC film release in 32 markets. Of course, what's considered good or bad in itself. It itself constantly changing due to COVID-19. The new Wonder Woman movie's rollout has been impacted by a second lockdown across much of Europe, and even in places where life is starting to return to normal, like China and Taiwan, or where a lockdown never happened, like Japan, Wonder Woman 1984 didn't do much at the box office. So obviously, the sequel to the original Wonder Woman brought in $18.8 million in China, followed by $3.6 million in Taiwan, $2 million in Thailand, and of course about $1.6 in Japan, with about $1.7 in Brazil. Obviously, a lot of markets that they don't even list, kind of the United States among those. That is really troubling because, like you said, Carissa, a lot of markets here in the United States aren't even open, but they just needed to get that film out there. It's been waiting too long, too much time just kind of sitting there, to do an entire second advertising campaign was just probably way too expensive. When you can consider that a lot of movies spend $100 million, $200 million in marketing alone, like that's not even the production of the film. You really can't afford to do that twice. So they just had to put it out there knowing it wasn't going to do well. And yeah. So,
well, 38.5 isn't bad considering, but I don't know if that even covers what these people are getting paid to be in these movies.
No, this thing has already lost a lot of money. And the question is, can it make it up in other markets? This week on Wednesday, it's going to release in Austria, Germany, South Korea, and of course, other places around the world. And this Friday will be the United States. So other places other than the US are getting it first, with New Zealand and Australia getting it last. They mentioned that on Christmas Day, the Wonder Woman sequel will be available on HBO Max. Carissa, if you recall that we did that story, that HBO Max struck a deal with Warner Media, that all of the Warner Media movies, after they launch in theaters, will closely follow or like simultaneously launch on HBO Max. So
yeah.
I wonder. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I wonder how it's going to turn out in the US.
I can't imagine it's really going to, kind of blow it out of the water. Gal Gadot does an amazing Wonder Woman. I think that the franchise is far from dead. Like, even if this bombs immensely, no one is going to blame it on really the movie. I have a feeling. I've not seen the movie. The movie might be absolutely horrible, and that's a whole nother issue. But I think that a lot can be blamed on the release schedule, the marketing, COVID. This is just one of those movies that is probably hardest hit by COVID, because again, it was supposed to launch right as every movie theater in America closed down for like 8 months. It's pretty unprecedented, and no other movie is going to take that hit like Wonder Woman did. So
yeah, and there's no way to even there's no way anybody could have been able to tell that was going to happen either, because it wasn't talked about enough. Like, we just didn't have enough information to even see that coming for a while.
Right.
I don't think, anyway.
Right. So with that being said, the article finishes up by saying, in the US, Wonder Woman 1984 will have theatrical competition from Tom Hanks' News of the World, Regina King's One Night in Miami, and Carey Mulligan star Promising Young Woman. Wonder Woman 1984 will also have streaming competition from other Disney Plus and Pixar movies. And so we can see media starting to come out, media starting to release, but at the same time, it's just nothing is going to make as much money in some kind of box office scenario until, let's face it, the vaccine's out, COVID is a thing of the past, and it's just, it's not even a consideration anymore. COVID has to go away. Let's face it, completely for for this to happen. So,
yeah, I agree.
Time will tell. Time will tell. And good luck, Warner Media. If you're listening, don't blame Gal Gadot. Don't blame Wonder Woman. And really, I think they know that. By striking that deal with HBO Max, that they know that they're just going to take all the box office hits for the next 6 months to a year, and they just want to get their stuff out there. So they're going to look at other metrics than money earned at the box office. So.
That doesn't mean they can't release, maybe the extended cuts of these movies later on.
Yeah, no, there's totally the chance that they get a second chance at that big theater because hey, let's face it, some people genuinely enjoy going to the theaters to watch big blockbuster movies. So maybe one day. Okay, so there's that story. Let's go ahead and talk about. Let's see. Here we go. Zoom. And, right now we're using Zoom on the show. It's very, very easy to do. But what a lot of people don't realize is that it's a Chinese-based company. And why does that matter? Well, China has its own definition of censorship. Now, admittedly, the United States arm of Zoom is pretty hands-off with, kind of what China does with Zoom, or what China censors in the U.S. is pretty limited, but this next story here shows it's not exactly zero. So here we go. A Department of Justice charges Zoom employee for helping Chinese government shut down Tiananmen Square commemorations. And of course, Carissa, I don't think you were on the show when we talked about this big crackdown that China has been having online, but China's been trying to get censorship really ingrained in the internet across the world, and namely the Tiananmen Square, which, for those who don't remember, was that very iconic photo of the tanks rolling through Tiananmen Square, and of course, it's just that one gentleman in front of that huge line of tanks. Some of the other photos that they don't show you were the hundreds of college protesters killed in that incident. It was really a dark time for China because they, it was one of the first examples of just true militaristic might. I mean, imagine sending in tanks versus unarmed college students. It did not end well for the college students, to put it lightly. And it's such a black eye for, the Chinese government that any mention of it actually gets censored online as fast as possible. And so, of course, Zoom being a Chinese company, hey, here we are. So and I apologize if I get any of these words wrong, but a Chinese-based Zoom executive was charged with coordinating with the Chinese government, so it's not just a random employee, but executive, to shut down Zoom meetings in the United States. And I guess that's the scary part because, again, in the United States as opposed to elsewhere. And elsewhere, I should mention that, on a host of religious and political topics, including the commemoration of the 31st anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. Xinjiang Jin, also known as Julian Jin, worked at the behest of the Chinese Ministry of Public Security, according to a complaint by unsealed documents at the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York on Friday. That's a long sentence. The Justice Department said he was charged with conspiracy to commit interstate harassment and unlawful conspiracy to transfer a means of identification, as he worked as Zoom's primary liaison with the People's Republic of China, law enforcement, and intelligence services. And he's based in China, is wanted by the FBI, though it is unlikely he would be sent to the U.S. If tried and convicted, however, he would face up to 10 years in prison. So, yeah, Carissa, not good that the Chinese government is censoring Zoom calls or Zoom events in the United States. And I think that's where the Department of Justice, at least the U.S. Department of Justice, is having problems, it seems.
Yeah, they definitely need to step in because, it's one thing to censor your own internet in your own country, and things like that. But like, how do you have the authority to do that in somebody else's country, even if you own the company? You know,
and like I said, there's this push by China to it's almost like a cultural shift that China is trying to impose. I don't know if you know this, but China invest a lot of money. Like, they're actually encouraged to invest their money outside of China. And that's why, games like League of Legends, that's why games like World of Warcraft, that's why games and of course I know a lot about video games, so this is where I kind of come to it from. But also movies and films, like that's why, Carissa, that's why you're seeing like these big Chinese flicks with, big Hollywood actors. And then there's like random Chinese person put in here. And it's because these Chinese companies that invest in films to get the films made, they demand that someone from China be, kind of put into the film. And don't get me wrong, diversity is not a bad thing, but it's very obviously shoehorned in. That's why you get movies like Tom Cruise in, I think it was called like The Wall or something like that, where obviously it was a Great Wall of China with Tom Cruise for some reason. And, it's, and I mentioned video games, like they find that, kind of scantily clad women in video games, which have gone hand in hand forever. I'm not saying it needs to stay that way forever, but China is imposing that characters that are already in video games have their image redone to better fit a more modest Chinese view. And it's little things like that that are very far-reaching from China. And it's almost like the government knows that they are waging this cultural war. And the more that they can influence, the better China is positioned in the future. So that's happening.
Makes sense, because if you're doing it on the internet, like that's the farthest reaching way to get to, different places would be the internet. So it makes sense that they would do it that way, I guess.
Right. They're trying to exert as much influence as possible on the internet. So there's that. So let's go ahead and finish up the story here real quick and see exactly what this executive did. They mentioned that he responded to requests from the People's Republic of China government for information and to terminate video meetings hosted by the company by Zoom's video communication platform. His duties included providing information to the government about Zoom's users and meetings, and in some cases he provided information such as the IP address, name, and email address of users located outside of China. Jin was also responsible for proactively monitoring they keep calling Company One, but Zoom's video communication platform for what the government considered to be illegal meetings to discuss political and religious subjects unacceptable to the Chinese Communist Party. So, yeah, again, things like Tiananmen Square, and there's probably a list out there. Are
we being censored now just talking about this?
Hey, maybe, but that's okay. I get our metrics, and unfortunately, Computer America is not the smash hit in China that I had hoped it would be. But
it should be Computer China.
Yeah, but I'm sure that they have their own version over there. I will say though that we were able to renew our certification for our website and all stuff like that. But for another part of the company, I failed to renew the certificate, which is normally not a problem because, you can kind of prove that, you're using the trademark and it's not really that big a deal. Almost immediately, someone in China picked up the certificate and, tried to ransom it out for like a couple $1,000s. And I was like, you know what? That's like an old defunct, like I think it was like the domain that we used to upload the show notes to way back when, before we migrated to WordPress. But still, I mean, they tried their very hardest. People out there watching, I don't think that was the Chinese government by any means, but yeah. So by the way, yeah, you never know. But let's see. So, and I found this list here. So I've already covered this, Chris, and I don't know if you were on the show when we did this special segment. a lot about China and censorship and the Great Chinese Firewall and kind of where China's coming from. This was one of our special segments. Everyone, if you got to YouTube, you can find the special segment category there, and you can find it under there. But yeah, it's a pretty long list on kind of what they do and how they do it. Let's see. So, by the way, some of the specific examples of censorship include obviously anything Tiananmen Square, kind of centric. They mentioned debates about the significance of internet resistance to censorship. So, China will actually ban people from talking about internet resistance to censorship, as in ways to kind of get around it, and things like what do you call those things? Oh my god, NordVPN, using a VPN, stuff like that is censored. Usage of internet kill switch so that you can immediately shut off the signal. Things about coronavirus, and of course, this was a huge point of censorship. The COVID-19 pandemic in mainland China, a lot of the information coming out of there, like really, if you think about, let's say, the United States, we're having a really hard time with getting COVID-19 kind of under control here. China has, 5 or 6 times somewhere around 4 times America's population. And really, Chris, if you think about it, I mean, yeah, they didn't know about it. They had like 100 cases. They went up to like 1,000, 2,000. They were getting random ones here and there. And then suddenly they, through what they claim was just basic mask wearing, wash your hands, and, kind of follow the rules. China stayed at one of the lowest rates of COVID-19 in the world. And
that's surprising.
Yeah, it's surprising.
Having that many people.
And probably false, because obviously they are self-reporting, and they do not allow independent UN health or World Health Organization monitors into their borders to kind of count the people and the aftermath. So,
right.
Yeah, they censor those kind of numbers. And by the way, just one last one before we finish this article here. One last topic that they also censor is comparing the president Xi Jinping to Winnie the Pooh. So, Winnie the Pooh, by and large, is completely wiped off the Chinese internet. Fun fact.
But why is it Winnie the Pooh?
Some people claim
the whole world.
It became a meme, and some people claim that he looks like him. So
that's great.
Yep. There you go. So with that being said, let's see. So they have a quote here from the Assistant Attorney General for National Security. No company with significant business interests in China is immune from the coercive power of the Chinese Communist Party. China will use those within its reach to sap the tree of liberty, stifling free speech in China, the United States, and elsewhere about the party's repression of the Chinese people, which, as I said before, China will use its influence the best it can to, kind of push its worldview. And they know that there's a cultural shift that it can definitely influence. So there you go. And Carissa, we've covered this in the past that, because like the government, the Chinese government issues business licenses, and they only issue a certain amount of them. Like the central government directly dictates that, there can only be 10 ISPs in the entire country, and they issue the business licenses to operate those, and they can revoke those at any time. So you can see how it's very problematic if you say, no, I will not, kind of bow to Beijing censorship. They're going to go, oh, well, you lose your license, dissolve immediately, and we'll give your license to someone else who will. So now for, of course, threat. Yeah, exactly. Now, of course, for Zoom's part, they have a statement here. Let's see. So Zoom is dedicated to the free and open exchange of ideas and supports the U.S. government's commitment to protect America from foreign influence. We have also been conducting a thorough internal investigation. That was a Zoom's spokesperson, adding that at this stage in our investigation, and with the exception of user data for fewer than 10 individuals, we do not believe this former employee or any other Zoom employee provided the Chinese government with user data of non-China based users, and that we terminated this individual's employment for violating company policies. So a couple key things there. They admitted, yes, this is real. They mentioned that they took swift action, but, they have a whole lawsuit going on. So, and of course, on top of that, they mentioned non-China based users. So that means untold amount of China-based users are totally being reported and monitored by the Chinese government.
Right.
It's not a far stretch to assume that the same company is doing the same thing in other parts of the world. So, so this article goes on for a bit about the FBI and the 47-page complaint that they filed and all this kind of good stuff. But I think this is something good to keep in the back of your mind when you consider just how prolific Zoom has become for individual companies, as well as, kind of just everyday Americans, everyday conversation with friends, family, loved ones, as much as conversations between business partners and, kind of high level executives. Those conversations are not private, I guess.
Yeah. They should not. This shouldn't be happening.
And you should not assume that they are. So, okay. That was story number 3. Story number 4, and wow, half the show's gone already. Story number 4, Carissa, I'm going to do one more, and then I'll go ahead and let you pick which one we do. But let's see. I'm going to do, and actually this one. We've covered robot lawyers in the past, and robot lawyers are, think of them like chatbots. Many places use chatbots nowadays where, you get this message like, hey, welcome on to, let's say, the Computer America website. And the Computer America website, the chatbot will say, how can we help you? Would you like to place an order? Would you like, and of course, Computer America doesn't have orders, but, would you like to place an order? Would you like to file a complaint? Would you like to yell at Ben? The chatbot will give you a couple different options. You say, and, kind of as close as you can, it chooses the topic. Think of it like a customer support tree, but it's all computer based. Robot lawyers are the exact same way, and they will ask you things like, what's your name? When did you get, let's say in the one I'm thinking of, dealt with parking tickets, what's your name? Where was the parking ticket issued? What date? What time? How much was the fine? Things like that. And the chatbot robot lawyer will fill out all the paperwork automatically after asking you a series of questions and file to have it dismissed. And generally, in most places, if you take the time to actually push back against a parking ticket or a traffic camera violation or things like that, most of the time,
minor like that.
I'm sorry.
Something minor like that.
Yeah, something minor like that. Carissa, I don't know if you've ever had to deal with that, but it's very annoying. But most of the time, if you push back on any of these, kind of small offenses like this, they'll just dismiss it because they're hoping people just kind of send them, the $85 and move on with their lives. The robot lawyer made that super simple and super efficient to dispute those en masse. And that was the last I heard about robot lawyers. They were doing good things to help everyday people navigate the legal system for something so trivial. Because again, for most people, actually fighting that, like let's say you make even, like $15 an hour. If it took you an entire day to fight that, you would actually lose money. Because you had to go down to the courthouse, you had to wait for your ticket to come up, and of course you had to cancel work for the entire day. Missing work was probably costing you more money than just paying the ticket. So again, the chatbot had its use. Now, let's go and talk about this one, saying that now it has its own legal troubles. Illinois consumer Matthew Huffness says that on September 26, he received a number of text messages on his cell phone from a company named Do Not Pay, attempting to solicit his business. And of course, taken together, the message is read, "Hey there, it's Jen from Do Not Pay. We know it's a lot to ask for your payment details up front. We really do. But here's a statistic. Do Not Pay users save an average of $450 in cold hard cash per year," which, by the way, as soon as you use the phrase cold hard cash, I immediately distrust you distrust you more. That's
Sounds sketchy.
Yeah, it does. It does. But here's a statistic. Do Not Pay users save $450. Sue robocallers, cancel free trials, and never have to deal with customer service again. If you aren't satisfied, we'll go ahead and delete your details and refund you in full, which itself sounds like a scam. Now,
and the name of the company is what? Do Not Pay, and then they're asking for your money? That's bogus.
Yeah, so the messages allegedly urge helpless to sign up for the Do Not Pay app, a service chatbot that Do Not Pay bills as the world's first robot lawyer, which, if I'm not mistaken, probably does a lot of what I said. I mean, according to Do Not Pay, the app lets users appeal parking tickets in any city in the US, cancel services or subscriptions, handle chargebacks and refunds, and in short, get their money back from a variety of services that they signed up for, or to get free online trials of products and services. Again, this type of thing has been used to great effect in the wild. Lawyers, or at least the lawyer that was also, kind of fiddling with computers that set up the one that I was thinking about, did not charge for the service whatsoever. Like, I think he charged it was like a $15 filing fee, because that's what, kind of the city where he set it up for. They charged like a $15 filing fee, and he just passed that on to the users. But no, this was never part of a wider, general service. So this definitely seems like a scam. Do Not Pay is accused of sending the text without first obtaining his express permission, and that, together with the ask to sign up for service, makes the unsolicited advertising text messages violate pretty much a law that says, hey, you can't use robocalls to advertise. I know that robocalls happen, but they're technically illegal. So yeah, a service like this, and Carissa, like you said correctly, ironically, promises to prevent that kind of thing, is actually itself the problem. So the article goes on for a bit, talking about mixed reviews and whether or not it works or not. Not really interested in getting on, into getting whether or not this is a good service. Right off the bat, I would just say, again, I would not trust a service like this, and Do Not Pay seems very much like a scam, something that is trying to ride the coattails of other services. But I have heard of services like this. So,
I mean, it seems useful in theory if you can find, a functional one.
Right.
Because it would save a lot of time doing stuff like that.
Yeah, and of course the article goes into some of the complaints online that are happening here. And this one, coming to us from TechNewsWorld, mentioned that they reached out to the CEO of the company for comments, or at least the founder of the company, and they did not respond in time for the story. But by and large, this seems really, really fishy. So
Big old bogus button.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust it. So anyways, there you go. Let's go ahead and move on. So Carissa, did you pick another story?
I want to do this one about Boba Fett.
Boba Fett. Oh yeah, not the Book of Mormon, but the Book of Boba. So would you like me to read, or would you like to?
I can certainly give it a shot. This one here is from Engadget. It was released 7 hours ago from Nathan Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
And this here says the Disney confirms the Book of Boba Fett as a Mandalorian spin-off series. I personally haven't watched any of the Mandalorian, so I don't know anything about them.
I saw the first season, and it was good. It was really good.
Yeah. I heard like bits and pieces of the second one, and I know there was some controversial stuff going on there, even though it's a cartoon TV show, but that's just fine. Anyway.
Real quick. Live action, not cartoon. So
Pardon
Perfect.
me, I'm sorry.
No, there's a pretty big distinction, but yeah, by and large, it is pretty highly reviewed. So
Yeah.
pretty good.
So this here says, when the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian dropped last week, it teased something called the Book of Boba Fett in post-credit scenes. It was clear Boba Fett was going to get some time in the spotlight. We didn't know if this was a movie, a series, or an arc in The Mandalorian, but Disney can clarify that the Book of Boba Fett will be a new series debuting in December of 2021. It'll take place in the same general time frame as The Mandalorian, so it'll surprise us to see some crossover between the two shows.
Not bad. December 2021. So a full year. A full year. That's crazy. But how familiar are you with kind of the whole universe of Star Wars, Carissa?
Very, very vaguely. I've seen obviously most of the first 6 movies I've seen, and then I saw the 7th one, and then that's where I was just kind of like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. A lot of people found that the movies 7, 8, 9 to be a little mixed, but I gotta say that Star Wars as a universe, I think that's where the real gold is. There was of course Solo, which didn't do too well in movie theaters, but Solo was still a very good movie. The Mandalorian is really, let's face it, it's just a space western. It's dramatic. It's a lot of fun, and it has Baby Yoda. I mean, it's the Star Wars universe, and I think they also mentioned that Disney greenlit 21 new movies and TV shows dealing with Star Wars, the universe. So Disney's going all in on this.
I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's something else they can kind of cash in on, and I appreciate it just ever so slightly more than comic book things.
For sure.
So,
yep. So there's a little bit more to that story, mentioning that the tweet, which you can see here on the screen, John Favreau is really claimed to, kind of be a driving force behind the success of The Mandalorian. So he's attached to the Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, as well, and a number of other pretty high executives that helped with The Mandalorian. So let's see. With that being said, there isn't much else going on yet, most specifically who will be running the show, but given that it's only a year away from debuting, we should hear plenty about it in the months to come. Another big question is whether or not The Mandalorian will return for its 3rd season, but with a big new series on debut, it wouldn't surprise us to see season 3 pushed back into 2022. I believe
that also gives them the option to release them both at the same time, though. Why wouldn't they just keep it coming?
Yeah, for sure. It's they're really going in on this, and I really appreciate it. And by the way, I might have said 21 a bit too soon, but I gotta say I did find this article here, which will include in the show notes. But some of the upcoming Star Wars Disney Plus shows, just for people who didn't know. Get this, Carissa, and I know that you said you weren't the biggest into Star Wars lore, but a lot of it really seems like a lot of the characters that they've recently been showing in The Mandalorian are getting their own shows, including Mandalorian Season 3, obviously, Andor, which, let's see, this is a Rogue One prequel, which was another really good movie based in the Star Wars universe. Rogue One was with the X-Fighter Squadron and that whole thing. An Obi-Wan Kenobi movie of his own spinoff. Nice. Cast, and that one's really fun, Krista, because I'm sure that you've seen the social media and the memes around the first 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
of course.
And of course, the cast for those two, the original trilogy was Ian McGregor and Hayden Christensen played, obviously, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. They're coming back. They're going to reprise their roles in the Obi-Wan Kenobi spinoff. So,
that'll be fun.
Yeah, I really do think it will. Ahsoka is going to get one, or Ashoka, however you say that. Star Wars Rangers of the New Republic. So we're going to get a whole new live-action Mandalorian spinoff there as well. A new animated one, which has to do with a squadron of kind of bad clones. And of course, the Acolyte, which is a whole nother... it's a female character lead, High Republic era, set in a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers. So obviously someone who is going to explore the dark side of the Force. And then a movie as well centered around Lando. Obviously Lando Calrissian and Donald Glover will be starring in that one. So
Excellent.
They're really pushing, Disney Plus is pushing a lot of TV shows and things like that are spinoffs, but Star Wars is, and you kind of mentioned how you kind of fell off after you didn't see movie number 8, movie number 9. Movie number 9 turned off so many people that they were kind of wondering, is Star Wars kind of dead in the water because Solo came out, Star Wars 9 came out. It was kind of lackluster, no one was really excited. And then The Mandalorian came out, and now we have, just a slew of new TV shows and movies coming out. So
yeah, I'll have to get on the Mandalorian train to see what all that's about. And I mean, that's a lot of new stuff coming out with Star Wars content. A lot.
Yeah, within the next 2 years,
impressive.
all that should be coming out. So
Wow.
it's The Mandalorian did a lot to revitalize what's kind of what Star Wars is all about. So you got to give credit.
Needed it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So let's see. So there's that one. We have time to also talk about this one. So obviously SolarWinds, that has been the big topic, and we should have, if I'm not mistaken, I need to check my email to triple check this. Yeah. All right. Perfect. Okay. So tomorrow on the show, we will have Scott Schober on the program. He is our resident cybersecurity expert. We will cover this in even more detail, but this is the first time that we've gotten this from the U.S. government and Mr. Mike Pompeo mentioning that Russia clearly behind SolarWinds operation, says Pompeo. So we kind of assumed, and a lot of the experts within the field were saying that this had all of the telltale marks that, hey, this is a Russian-run campaign. But now we have someone from within the United States government saying publicly that, yes, the Russians were behind this particular hack. So,
yikes.
Yeah.
Can we go over what SolarWinds was just really quick one more time?
Yeah, SolarWinds was a back-end provider of communications, things like emails, servers, setting up transfer of data between 425 and 500 of the Fortune 500 companies. They serve 425 of them, and then they also serviced organizations such as the Treasury Department for the United States, the Department of Defense, pretty much everyone who is really, really big and important in this country was counted as one of SolarWinds' customers. So obviously you can imagine that a months long exfiltration, or being able to pull data surreptitiously from these different services, and it's not even the Department of Defense was hacked, but imagine about the Department of Energy and their grid and all the information that they shared with the Department of Defense. If the DoD was compromised, then obviously everyone that the DoD talked to may have also been compromised, even if they weren't strictly there. So,
wow.
This was a big one. This was really, really big. And as I said when we first talked about this, we will probably never know the full extent of what was actually stolen or kind of obtained from this particular hack, because tracking that kind of thing is a very hard thing to do. So I got to say that, let's see, the only thing I want to say is that the President of the United States, he did mention this in a couple of tweets, as is his favorite way to talk about these. In 2 tweets on Saturday, Mr. Trump again turned on what he labels the fake news media for exaggerating the matter. He wrote, quote, "The cyber hack is far greater than in the fake news media than in actuality. I have been fully briefed and everything is well under control. Russia, Russia, Russia is the priority chant when anything happens because lamestream is, for mostly financial reasons, petrified of discussing the possibility that it may be China." So he's immediately deflecting, again, the president of the United States, who claims to have all the inside information, is immediately deflecting blame back to China and saying that this is China. Not that China would be above this kind of thing, but this is, by all accounts, and now directly from Mike Pompeo, this is a Russian-led operation.
Right.
So it's
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on who you're working with, right? Which fingers do you want to point?
Yeah, and
version.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of reason, Carissa. I mean, this administration has been very strange, to put it lightly, about who's at fault, and I don't know why the president of the United States and the Secretary of State would contradict one another, but yeah, we're gonna have to say that this is Russian. So yeah, and we'll talk about that more tomorrow with Scott Schober. I'm really looking forward to that. I think he could shed a lot of light onto that particular topic. So okay, there's that one. Let's do this one. This is another one that to me was just like a no duh kind of moment. AT&T. AT&T famously purchased DirecTV back in 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. That sounds about right. They purchased DirecTV for like 90, no. It was like 30 or 40 billion dollars. They took the entire DirecTV franchise and put it under AT&T, and they promised to keep all the jobs. They promised to keep all of these consumer services. They promised to keep everything. And by the way, I think it was 2017, by the way. And they promised that AT&T would actually make DirecTV a better service because they could tie the two together, and anywhere that could not get AT&T TV would be able to get DirecTV, which is almost the same thing, so they claim, blah, blah, blah. But to most people who looked at that, that was more of, hey, AT&T was purchasing their competitor so that they could kill them and push more people onto its own service. And it's kind of hard to argue. I mean, satellite is fickle. It's not exactly a booming industry. And, well, if their job was to kill it, they did a pretty good job. Since early 2017, AT&T lost nearly 8 million subscribers, where it's currently sitting at about 17 million, and it started at over 25 million. AT&T has driven many of those customers away by repeatedly raising prices and reducing availability for promotional deals, and has already announced another round of DirecTV and Uverse TV price increases in January. They mentioned that it would be a bitter pill, there we go, for AT&T to sell DirecTV for less than a third of the $49 billion it paid in 2015. So I was close. 2015, $49 billion. And this whole story revolves around the fact that the most it can seem to get is about $15 billion for its DirecTV service.
Yikes. That's a loss.
That's a bad
hit.
Yeah, that's a very bad hit. So they've been seeking buyers for its struggling satellite division months ago, and they mentioned that the first round of bids valued DirecTV at about $15 billion, and AT&T apparently hasn't been able to get better offers in subsequent auction rounds.
Well, it's satellite TV. Nobody wants that anymore, unless you're going to sell that to Netflix, where they can just beam that directly into your house without even having a computer. Then, like, what are they going to do with that? Nobody wants that anymore.
I think that the internet has really made the satellite TV market kind of obsolete, because if you can get internet to your house, yeah, you can get TV to your house, and it's all digital. It's, not affected by weather. It's cheaper because, you don't have to have all these expensive installation. And let's face it, you don't have to maintain satellites in space to do it. Internet is just very swiftly replacing satellite television. And the writing is on the wall. That's why a lot of these investment firms are offering less than $15 billion because they see it as more of a, we'll buy it now, but even we are going to strip it for everything that's worth and just sell it off in pieces. DirecTV, it would not surprise me if within the next couple of years just completely folded and went under.
I think it would be better if somebody could acquire it and then figure out how to repurpose those satellites, like maybe putting Starlink on them, or something different, something to make them more functional than satellite TV.
I mean, you're not wrong, and quite honestly, I'm sure that a lot of the satellites will be repurposed for communication satellites. That is undoubtedly what will happen, but for their original purpose, I mean, they're going to need a buyer like I don't know, someone in the U.S. government to utilize them to for something that, let's just face it, just doesn't make money anymore. So let's see. So with that being said, but AT&T should still take an offer at that level. Someone wrote saying that someone estimated that DirecTV would fetch around $20 billion. Any plausible bid is still less than half of the $49 billion that they paid for it. Such a deal would be a bitter pill, obviously, but that's especially true considering AT&T reportedly wants to maintain a majority of DirecTV and only remove the property from its balance sheet and transfer management of the business to another buyer. All in all, I would say that they're trying to do some accounting things because they know it's a very struggling part of the company and they want it off of its balance book so that their financials as a company overall look better. They
should have paid less money for it.
Yeah, it was a bad investment. I mean, it happens all the time. No one can really see the future, and I got to say though that when DirecTV bought it, like as I said before, when they bought it, I remember thinking they just want the user base. They don't actually care about the service because they had a better service. They had AT&T Uverse, which I believe is just now AT&T TV. They have a competing service that works, by most cases better than what it is that they're purchasing. And they'd rather onboard them onto, and over those years, Carissa, they've been giving people deals to switch from DirecTV to other AT&T services. Yeah, this was going to happen one way or another. So,
I mean, okay. It's old technology. It's just bound to happen eventually.
It is. Let's see. So, let's talk about this one. So this took effect today, and this actually affects me personally because I have my own modem. The cable company that I use, that again, I refuse to say on the air because I badmouth them so much and they will probably get on me for it. But they are so nice and kind to me that I had to buy my own modem because our service increased in speed so much that the wonderful equipment that they put in my home cannot handle the speeds that they now offer me, which seems like a good problem to have. But then you consider, they're giving me equipment that doesn't work and actually makes the service not work altogether. So I had to go out and buy my own modem. But Carissa, for the past about 2 years, I've had to pay a $8 a month rental fee for equipment that is literally sitting in a box on my shelf in my office. Because I cannot use it physically if I want to keep using my service. But I can't just, I can't return it and say, hey, give me my money back. I have to rent their modem. This is what
bogus.
It is. Yeah, bogus indeed. That changed today of all days. So check this out. This will be the last story before we say goodbye, everyone. But to give everyone a little bit of hope, Frontier in particular was charging $10 a month for absolutely nothing. And, well, here you go. The fee is illegal starting Sunday, December 20th, and you should tell your ISP that you will no longer tolerate it. So it looks like I need to make a call. Last year, Congress passed a law that have fixed this ridiculous loophole as of January 2020. And though the FCC managed to extend the deadline by 6 months by spinning up some language I can't use here on the air about how cable companies didn't have the resources to stop charging money, which is a weird sentence, the law should take full effect tomorrow being today. Do note that the actual text of the law still allows some weirdness to occur. If your ISP sends you a router, you'll need to return it to avoid charges. So return the equipment and you can make them stop charging it. So Frontier in particular was notorious for charging customers $10 a month for equipment. But yeah, now you can do that. If you can purchase your own cable modem, the authors suggest that you do. Modems generally pay for themselves in less than a year, and they're much better than the ones that are provided to you by these companies. So, with that being said, yeah, that's about it. If you find yourself in the same trap that I do, yeah, fix that right away. So Carissa, that's about it for the day. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry that you came in late, but you sounded great this whole time. And hey, I look forward to talking with Scott tomorrow.
Me too.
All right, perfect. So everyone, we'll catch you next time, same place. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. And again, no shows Thursday, Friday, and all next week. We'll be back here tomorrow. Bye, everyone.
Bye.